Welcome back to the Bad Influence Podcast, Mindset Monday, where we show you how to take control of your mind. I'm the bad influence you need in your life, Jordan Banderas. All right, listen up. If you think suffering is just a cruel twist of fate meant to knock you down, you're dead wrong. Because on the other side of that pain is something spectacular: greatness. And today, we're ripping off the sugarcoating to show you exactly how to harness suffering and turn it into rocket fuel for your life. I know, I know for a fact that it sounds crazy because I heard this a long time ago when after my wife got sick, and I was like, that's crazy. That sounds crazy. So I know what you feel right now. If you think this sounds crazy, I got you. I totally get it. Because here's the thing. You suffering, a lot of people are gonna say like thanks but no thanks. That's how I saw suffering before. But hear me out. There's a concept I call applied suffering, and it's a game changer. Nietzsche, the philosopher, talk about intentionally using or embracing suffering as a tool for personal growth or development. And I realize I've been suffering my entire life. So I use my own suffering for my growth. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but it worked for me and it can work for you if you do this correctly. In my case, my whole life felt like one long emotional battle. I had no clue what to do with all that pain until my wife got sick. In that gut wrenching moment, I realized my suffering wasn't just about me anymore. That's when I started using it as fuel, pushing myself to become better, stronger, and more determined than ever before, than my entire life pretty much. And if this resonates with you, buckle up. Because today we're dissecting how to flip suffering into success. This is for anyone who's tired of feeling stuck and ready to turn their struggles into stepping stones, just like I did. By the end of this episode, you'll see that suffering isn't the villain. It's the catalyst you never knew you needed. But first things first. Let's call out the bullshit. Most people go out of their way to avoid suffering. I used to do that. It's like we're allergic to pain, whether it's physical or emotional. We want all the warm and fuzzy feelings: love, happiness, gratitude. But the minute discomfort shows up, we scramble for the exits. I've done it. Again, I've done it. I'm talking from my own experience. And here's the thing. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Sounds contradictory, right? But think about it. Life throws heartbreak, failure, or loss at you. And that's the pain you can't dodge. The suffering part is what happens when you cling to that pain and let it define you for years. What if you could shift your perspective using that pain as a signal to grow rather than a reason to shrink? I know, right? It's a good question. Well, that's where applied suffering comes in. It's about consciously choosing temporary discomfort to emerge on the other side a stronger, more resilient human being. So if you're sitting there thinking, but I hate suffering, it scares me senseless, you're not alone. We're all wired to seek comfort. It's literally in our DNA, tracing back to the caveman era. So don't feel bad if you can accept discomfort as a part of life. Because for ages, I felt I was stuck in this endless loop of emotional turmoil. I didn't know how to cope. Then I met my wife, someone who saw my potential way before I did. Even before she got sick, she was all about pushing me out of my comfort zone. When her health took a nosedive, I realized my suffering wasn't just mine, it was ours. If I stayed stuck, I was laying her down. And suddenly, every moment of doubt or emotional pain was a wake up call. I had to tell myself if I want to become a better man, better husband, better provider, I have to go to therapy. I have to start that podcast. If I want to make my vision a reality, I have to do the hard stuff, go through the suffering of change. And you know what? That made all the difference. It was fucking uncomfortable. Yes, it was hard, but I had to do it. You see, I used to equate suffering with failure, something to be avoided at all costs. But I channeled my pain into determination. I was driven by the thought that if I bettered myself, it will ease our collective struggles, not just mine, but my wife's as well. That's the power of applied suffering. You choose to face hardship head on, adapt, grow, rather than letting it paralyze you. Now, let's break down exactly what separates pain from suffering and how to leverage one without getting bogged down by the other, because that's the hard part. So, pain is that scorching sensation when you touch a hot stove. It's the immediate alarm, something's wrong, and you need to change course. You can't escape pain. It's the body and mind's way of protecting you. Suffering, on the other hand, is when you keep your hand on that stove, refusing to move. You're stuck in the past, replaying old traumas, letting them shape your present. That's optional, and it's where most people get stuck. I've done it. I did for over 30 years. So if you're grieving a loss from 20 years ago and it still stops you from living your life, that's suffering. But if you use that heartbreak to fuel your growth, to push you into new opportunities or a higher level of self-awareness, then you're applying your pain rather than being consumed by it. So let's dig deeper into how to put applied suffering into action and how ignoring the warnings can lead to a huge wake-up call from the universe or wherever you think is holy for you. I have a question for you guys though. Ever notice how your body reacts when you accidentally burn yourself? You pull away fast, right? That pain forces action. The same goes for when life seems to keep pushing you down, when you're betrayed or you face financial ruin. The discomfort screams, wake up, do something different, right? You feel it, you hear it in your head. At the gym, you deliberately put yourself in a state of controlled pain, lifting heavier weights, pushing your heart rate to its limits, because you know that's how muscles and endurance develop. It's suffering, yes, but you apply it with a purpose to get bigger, to get stronger. Well, that's the sweet spot of growth. The universe often whispers before it shouts. You might get subtle signs, like low energy, persistent irritability, or that nagging feeling you're made for more. Ignore those signs and eventually life smacks you with a dramatic wake-up call, either a breakup, a health scare, you name it, right? It happens. So if you've been ignoring those whispers, don't beat yourself up. We're conditioned to avoid discomfort at all costs. But it's time to turn things around. Yes, it's that time. Comfort zones are like caves, cozy, predictable, and safe, right? Back in our caveman days, this was life-saving. Yeah, but in the modern world, it traps us. Staying in your cave, be it a dead end job or a stagnant routine, offers security but robs you of growth. Your brain's fear center, the amygdala, flips out when you step beyond the familiar. That's why your mind cooks up all sorts of horror scenarios like, what if I fail? What if I lose everything? Anytime you consider doing something new. Probably you have felt this before. You were ready to try something new and then you stop. Well, this is the reason why. But here's the raw truth: your comfort zone is where dreams go to die. Everything you've ever wished for more money, deeper love, incredible opportunities, lives beyond that boundary. Accept that the fear you feel is just an outdated survival mechanism. Embrace that fear and see it as your signpost. Yes, because that's what it is. The moment you hear that little voice screaming, don't do it, that's your green light to go. And you might be wondering, well, how do I do this applied suffering thing you're talking about? Well, that's a good question. First off, recognize that self imposed challenges are your friend. Whether it's waking up an hour earlier or tackling a tough workout, each uncomfortable action is a mini boot camp for your mind. The key is consistency. Build the habit of pushing past that initial resistance. Second, when fear rears its head, ask yourself, is this going to kill me? 90% of the time, the answer is no. Then ask, can this help me grow? If the answer is yes, you've got your marching orders. That's the entire rationale behind applied suffering. Third, remember my advice. Go for it. If you think therapy can help, do it. If you want to start a podcast, jump right in. Don't wait until you feel ready. You'll never feel fully prepared anyway, so just dive in. Everybody does it. Everybody that is successful has done this at one point in their lives to start something they want to do. And when you do this, your future self will thank you. Lastly, celebrate your small wins. Even if you only push your alarm clock back by 10 minutes or crank out one extra set at the gym, acknowledge it. That positive reinforcement keeps you hungry for more discomfort and more growth. I want you to try something audacious today, something that makes you squirm. Walk into a coffee shop, order your latte, then start a conversation with a stranger. Sounds insane, right? That's the point. You'll feel your amygdala firing off all sorts of alarms. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm getting anxious, I'm scared, all of these things. But that's fine. Or if you'd rather not do that, go for the discount challenge. When you're checking out, food, a new sweater, whatever, just ask for 20% off. No reason. Just ask. Will people look at you funny? Maybe. But guess what? Sometimes you'll actually get that discount. I've done this. These tiny acts of boldness train your mind to realize that fear isn't a prison. It's an invitation. The worst that can happen, someone says no. Or you feel a little embarrassed for asking, right? It happens. Big deal. You'll walk away alive and with a fresh sense of your own power, which is what matters. Give one of these a shot today. Seriously, don't be scared. And after you do this, shoot me a message, post it in the comments, or email me about your experience. Because once you write it down and once you read it, you're going to be like, wow, it actually wasn't as bad. And after you do this, you'll see how harmless that fear really is. You'll be addicted to breaking more barriers. Because you're like, you know what? That anxiety is nothing compared to what I feel right now. Your mind will come up with 1,000 excuses. People don't like you. I don't want to look weird. They'll think I'm rude for asking for a discount. Recognize that for what it is, your comfort zone clinging for dear life. It's the old caveman in your head yelling at you to stay safe in that cave. But you've got bigger dreams than just surviving. You want to thrive. And thriving demands that you step past that invisible fence you build around yourself. Whenever you hit that mental block, remember your ancestors face far bigger threats, and you're still here. Apply the same principle to everything else in life, like chasing that big promotion, asking someone out, or launching your own business. If your fear isn't life-threatening, then it's just an echo of the past. Don't let an echo stop you from living your best life. And you may be wondering, but how do we keep the momentum going? Well, every morning, do one uncomfortable thing right out of the gate. Maybe it's a cold shower or an early workout. Start your day reminding yourself, I can face discomfort and come out alive. That sets the tone for everything else. Throughout your day, watch for moments of hesitation. Those microseconds when you think, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should just stay quiet. That's your cue to act. Each time you override that doubt, you wire your brain to see discomfort not as an enemy, but as a door to growth. And at night, reflect on the discomforts you conquered. Journal about them, record a voice note, or share with a friend. That self-awareness cements the lesson in your mind, reinforcing the cycle of seeking and overcoming hardship. Remember this: suffering isn't a dirty word. It's a tool, a powerful one. When harnessed correctly, it will rocket you to places comfort never could. Pain is inevitable, but letting it hold you down is a choice. And that's it for today. This is the Bad Influence Podcast, and I'm Jordan Banderas, reminding you that the greatest version of you lives on the other side of discomfort. If you're craving a life beyond ordinary, you've got to get real friendly with suffering. Share this episode with that one friend who's always complaining about wanting change, but never stepping outside their bubble. Let's show them that greatness demands a bit of sweat, a few tears, and a willingness to look awkward or crazy sometimes. Hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and join our mission to help the world see that suffering isn't a dead end, it's a launching pad. Until next time, go hunt down the discomfort that's calling you. Ask for that discount, start conversations, or do whatever terrifies you. That's how you turn suffering into greatness. Now go out there and make some serious change. The choice is yours.